how are you? Hey, That's just good vodka. We've got a great new sponsor for you today, and if you have any plans to come to the Los Angeles area, or you're a native or live here, you're going to want to listen to this. Please, I've got a new sponsor to tell you about, folks. I'm reading what I just said. And it's of the local kind. Again, reiterating. I'm talking to anyone who lives in the greater Los Angeles area. I probably should have just an interview out there visiting. It's a new restaurant, actually, called Fin, F-I-N, not the end of a French film. It's a restaurant. It's a great introduction to the exciting and tasty dining culture happening in Culver City. Yeah, you heard me. This Asian tapas combo. Asian tapas restaurant is cool, chic, and doesn't leave your wallet empty. You know what I'm saying? Plus, if you stroll around back, they've created a mixology lounge, because that's what you do these days, in the rear, wait for it, of the building, called the Alley Lounge. It's reminiscent of a 1920s speakeasy joint, but without the pretentious entering through an old refrigerator or an elephant's ass. There are some great places on the west side to check out, and I promise you, Fin is one of them. We love the Fin. We can't go there enough. We took the Brian and the Tina to the Fin not too long ago.
They took us.
Oh, okay. Let's call it that then.
Give them credit where credit's due.
Jamie, how are you? I have a little embarrassing thing for Jamie at the top. She is a published illustrator. This is the book. Jamie's going to tell you the website you can go to get yourself a copy. She volunteers at this wonderful place, 826LA, where the kids come in to learn creative writing after school.
And before, we do field trips and after school.
There you go.
Programs.
Tell the folks a little about it.
And school programs. Just go to 826la.org and you can learn all about it. It's a nonprofit that I've talked about it many times on the show because I'm trying to raise money for a dance-a-thon that we did for them. And,
that's right.
But yeah, no, it's a great organization that just, wants to teach kids creative writing.
Wants to teach kids creative writing because public schools no longer have programs like that. But Jamie is one of the illustrators, right? There's a few in here?
Yes.
Yeah.
There are many illustrators. I'm one of many.
Yeah, and very excited about this. It'll be in all the Christmas stockings of our dear friends. That's right, Sam. You can have a copy.
But I'm Jewish.
Well, let's test that, shall we?
All right.
First night of Hanukkah this year would be?
I want to say December 17th.
And the winner is not Sam Levine. It's the 16th. So close, though.
Didn't you say the first day?
First night. That's right. Days of Hanukkah is really where the shit's at.
That's right.
Sammy, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was great, and I'll tell you why.
Please do.
The television that I love so much, I watch the movies on the cable.
I see.
And
they had a Twilight Zone marathon on.
Well, of course they did. But way more interesting to me.
To you.
Was to watch a little film from the late
1900s
called End of Days.
End of Days, did you watch that over the Thanksgiving holiday?
I might have.
That's an Arnold Schwarzenegger film, isn't it?
I prefer to think of it as a Kevin Pollak film.
And the wildly respected...
With a little bit of...
Gabriel Byrne, I believe, is the second lead?
I believe he was.
Film? Yeah.
I believe it was the second time you worked with Mr. Byrne within the span of, say, 3 or 4 years.
Well, 95 to 99. Was it 99, End of Days?
I mean, it came out in 99.
Sure.
Presumably you shot it...
In 98?
In 98.
And Suspects was 94.
Yeah, so 4 years.
4 years.
We're in the ballpark.
We're not only in the ballpark. One of those films was good. So you enjoyed the End of Days, did you?
Boy, I gotta tell you, spoiler alert.
I wish Josh or someone could pull up a clip of me catching on fire in that film.
I was just about to say, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
You catch on fire, not once.
No.
But twice.
Well, because I tricked the devil.
Well, you didn't really trick, you made a deal with the devil.
I made a deal, and
then you reneged. You don't want to renege against the devil.
I believe it's on the list of things of what not to do when dealing with the devil.
I want to say number 1.
Number 1.
Well, maybe number 2 is number 1 is don't make the deal. Number 2 is don't renege on that deal.
On any deals made with the devil.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, what kind of a Jew nerve would it take to try to, we don't believe in the devil, so it's easy for us. But you had a nice Thanksgiving other than the viewing of that?
I had a lovely Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for asking. Really, that's actually... Okay, truth be told, that is a Thanksgiving tradition.
Just to watch End of Days?
Actually, no, I watch any movie where you die.
That's such a unique Thanksgiving
That's a long
tradition.
list.
It's a
It's a
I've
long
been doing
list.
it for 15 years and counting.
Hey, I just got back from Mexico. I got good news for you. The list just got longer.
Woohoo!
Yeah, filming down Mexico way, Rosarito Beach, with James Cameron built the studios there for the Titanic film, and they might still have some things lying around. Old vessels,
From the Titanic?
pieces of
I
vessels.
thought it was interesting how like a lot of things in the town are named after the film.
Yeah,
Wasn't
there's a
there, like-
Titanic Cafe.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
when that movie was in town, some of that $200 million budget went into the infrastructure of Rosarito.
How's their iceberg lettuce?
Now, wait for it. Wait for it. I'll tell you this, Sammy. It's unexpectedly good. Well, all right. I say damn good. I say damn good and right on. We're here coming to you from the Westside Comedy Theater, our new digs. We're very excited about this. Want to thank the fine folks of the Westside Comedy Theater for having us. Sean Casey told me, as one of the proprietors, he's the only one I should mention. I'm not sure why that is. But I'm going to stick to it for now. Jamie is saying, no, he didn't.
I can't tell if you.
You can't tell if I was telling the truth? Why would he ever say that? He's such a nice kid, and I believe Sean and Casey, both Irish names. We have an Irish guest today, of Irish descent. We're going to find out just how damn Irish he is in a moment. I've got exciting news about my documentary, Misery Loves Comedy, that I directed, but I cannot share it with you. The place that is going to announce it first would rather that they get to announce it first. So I'll tell you more about it later after they've had their little moment in the sun. But suffice to say, for those of you who've been following my directorial debut, there's some good news coming. Don't know why I went with that voice. You're not buffering. Hey, we're coming up at the end of 2014. Big plans afoot. Write to us at contact@kevinpollakschatcho.com. Let us know what your holiday plans are. We want to hear from you. Our guest today is going to play the Larry King game at the end, which he did not know until just now, but we have a very special photographic you're going to want to see. So for those of you that listen to the show, maybe watch once. Would it fucking kill you? Write to us at contact@kevinpollakschatcho.com. Let us know how you do the show. We want to hear from you. And if you have your own version of Larry King game, I'll send you a damn t-shirt or a mug, for fuck's sake. Do you listen to us on the Earwolf Podcast Network? Maybe? Let me know. Contact@kevinpollakschatcho.com. All right, my guest today, like myself and my favorite kind of actor, is what we call a character actor. That is to say, we're allowed to play different characters. We're not known for just one lick, as it were, or making $20 million a movie. We fill the as my ex-wife said, as long as the leading man needs a best friend or an attorney. Is there any wonder we're still not betrothed? I just remembered now to put the phone on stun. I forgot to ask everyone to do that, and I'm the first one to not lead by example. Please welcome the unfairly talented Joel Murray. Hello, Joel.
Hello.
How are you this fine Sunday? Sorry to get you out of church.
Oh yeah, well, I usually play basketball on Sunday morning, and
As the good Lord intended.
I told you I was going to play basketball, and can I just come over afterwards? I'm glad I didn't play basketball. I didn't realize I was on camera. But, here we are. Yeah, I went to Eric Stone Street's fabulous Christmas party last night.
I'm going to need a few details, whatever you can share with the public at large that's curious about a man like that.
It was beyond belief.
Sure.
He had the whole yard tented. He had what seemed like Manhattan Transfer walking around singing Christmas carols. He had Santa and Mrs. Claus came in, greeted some people, and then got in the hot tub, which
not uncomfortable for anyone.
A little bit odd there, but fantastic party and star-studded. And my wife and I had gone to a party on Tuesday night where she abstained, and I got to drink my head off. And last night, I didn't drink.
Oh,
and,
you flipped the roles.
Yeah, it was kind of the first time since the 6th grade that I had been sober at a party, and it was strangely awkward.
Did you get to hold the Mrs. Hair at the end of the night? Did she fulfill the obligation?
I held the hair. Yeah, no. That's polite, but no, she didn't go. She didn't get that far.
Have you guys not heard of Uber, or is it a thing where one of you needs to be sober at the party to watch the other?
Well, I had a son that was using the Uber to go see his girlfriend, so there would be confusion with the Ubers in my name, my account.
Right.
If I started calling for another car while he was calling for a car for some reason, and plus the fact that she didn't drink on Tuesday, so fair's fair, and all of a sudden you're gonna not drink at the best party of the year. But, it was,
Still have regret.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
Interesting to see your friends when you're sober.
Yeah. It must be on occasion.
I don't usually do that.
You say, you say
unless I'm late.
So how were your friends being sober? You being sober?
Oh, they're great people.
They're still okay?
Very huggy at the end of the night. I noticed. I didn't know. There was a
lot of the booze, though.
There was a great moment where, and I watched it, and it kind of happened in slow motion, where this guy Brian Blondell, an improviser from Chicago, friend, sees this girl walk by, and I did the same thing. I thought it was Lee Keckner, Dave Keckner's wife, and she's walking by, and she's got on these leather pants, and I'm watching Blondell, and then I catch the front of her face. I'm like, that's not Lee. And Blondell swats her on the ass and then really gave a nice grab of the ass.
He got a handful.
And she turned around and swatted him and said, "Excuse me." And it turns out it was Rich Eisen's wife, the ESPN guy. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I thought you were my friend Lee, my friend of 20 years. I would never grab anybody's ass that I didn't know for 20 years.
So it was Susie Eisen.
Yeah.
But it was so good to watch it, just in slow motion, completely sober.
Yeah. Any conversation with Rich at any point?
I didn't bring it up, but I just did give him a little soft pat on the ass, like a ball player would.
Sure.
Like a sport pat.
Well, what great Christmas party would be great without awkward moments? I mean, you want this kind of
That's
stuff.
what the holidays are about.
Isn't it?
That and, well, fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got to see Bo Bridges last night do a little holiday reading at the candlelight procession at Disneyland. You know, they do, what did you say, 300, 400 people in the choir?
The choir was
on top of Main Street where the train
sure.
station is.
Wow.
And it's an annual thing. And our friend Joey Chait is one of those Club 33 member dudes. Because apparently there's money lying around that needs to be set on fire. And is it a members thing, the candlelight procession? I mean, everyone's standing in Main Street.
Yeah, I mean, like, to have reserved seating, you have to either be a Club 33 member or, like, invited by the city of Anaheim.
Yes, city officials.
Or Kevin Pollak.
Yeah, we went as guests of...
Yeah, they let in 7 Jews to the candlelight procession. There was a lot of talk of Christ, and at one point they were forced to say...
the original Christmas story.
The original Christmas story is what Bo Bridges narrated.
Yes.
They get somebody different. Jamie, you saw it in Florida once with John Cicada.
Yes, John Cicada. There was a lot of Baby Jesus talk.
And then we saw with Neil Patrick Harris once
Harris
at Disney
well,
World.
yeah.
We're big Disney fans.
Apparently.
Yeah. Do you take the kids when they were kids?
Last time I went, I believe there were 80,000 people there. We went, my my wife's family were in town from the East, and they wanted to go like 2 days after Christmas.
Oh,
and,
baby.
Just the wrong time. I believe I went on one ride.
Yeah.
It was that crowded.
Yeah. You were in line most of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the express passes or anything, and
oh boy, what a treat.
yeah, it was. I don't go that much.
No. A couple of those bad experiences. That's why I don't snow ski. When I was like 17, my friend took me Lake Tahoe nearby San Francisco where I grew up, and took me to the top of the hill at 17, first time skiing, and said, just put the toes together on the way down, you'll be fine.
Make the
and then
pizza.
off he goes.
Yeah.
That was my lesson. And maybe without exaggeration, conservatively, 42 minutes to get down the hill. I fell every 4 feet. And about 17 minutes down, literally the pact you make when you're drunk with God. If you just get me through this will never happen again. And it hasn't, and it didn't, and I refused. And what a horrible thing to do to somebody.
Yeah.
Just turn me off to the whole thing of it.
See,
I had no idea you were such a quitter.
Oh, really? I would have thought you'd picked that up by
A
now.
little surprised.
In Chicago, we grew up skiing. There was a place called Wilmot Mountain in Wisconsin, and there was a lawsuit that they weren't allowed to call it a mountain because it was technically a hill. but it was not extensive. But I went from growing up and skiing a little bit on Wilmot, and then I went to school in Rome my junior year of college, and was in Cervinia in Italy. And we went up on this
Italian Alps?
on the Italian Alps, all above the frost line, so there's no trees. I mean, it was just crazy skiing, but in a complete whiteout. And there was a moment where my buddy did that, I'm behind you, don't worry about it. And he said it was like a cartoon where you could just see your outline going into the side of this snowdrift. And he dug me out, and we got down, and I'm like, that's it, that's insane. And you couldn't see 15 feet ahead of you. So we went in the bar, and we're sitting at the bar.
Sure,
and,
as you do.
We heard on the way to the bar that somebody said that Franz Klammer was there, and he, Olympic gold medalist, downhill master, whatever, had been skiing that day, and he had given it up for the day.
He wasn't the agony of defeat guy.
No, he had a strange Slavic name.
Uh-huh.
But so we're at the bar, and we keep going, well, Klammer quit for the day, so we decided to call it a day, and we're just drinking at the bar.
Yeah.
And after about an hour, this guy taps me on the shoulder. Would you please be quiet? This is Klammer. I'm like,
You were
oh,
sitting,
hey, how are you?
You were sitting just down the bar.
The loud, ugly Americans were 2 down the bar from him, so oh well. But I don't ski much anymore.
Yeah, no, but let's talk a little bit more about I went to Rome to school my junior year, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Were the folks just offering you up to the Vatican?
my brother Billy, all of a sudden, I had talked to him and mentioned at some point that some of my friends were going to Loyola University Rome Center. And I don't know, in passing, whatever. And then about 4 months later, he calls me up and says, yeah, Joel, so what are you doing about that whole Rome thing? And I don't know, Bill, I'm about 20 grand short, so I haven't really done anything about it. I'm just gonna go back to Northern Illinois in DeKalb. And well, you know what, call this priest, Monsignor Meter, and read this book. It's Twain, Innocents Abroad, and call me back. So I immediately go off to the library, back when people went to libraries, and
You're how old, sorry?
I'm
21?
Yeah, 20, going to be 21, and my junior year. So I read the book, go see Monsignor Meter, which was a whole surreal story. He had the cool apartment off the back of the church that was the most swinging single guy's pad with the view of my whole neighborhood. And it's just stolen relics from the Vatican all over the place. So I talked to him and read the book, called him back. Yeah, great. Now there's this other priest, Father Jared Wicks, who's going to be teaching there, who's actually I don't know, second cousin off and remove of yours. Talk to him, read this other book, call me back. And I did that, and I call him back, and he said, yeah, the money's in your account. But he had put the money in my bank account already before all this. And so
It's like a scavenger hunt in order to go to school?
Yeah, so I go to the orientation. They're leaving in like a couple weeks, and I went to Sycamore, Illinois, and got a passport on the last minute kind of thing. And I remember the guy's like, what's wrong with schools here? Why do you got to go to Italy? Got a great school right here, and
Not representing
got
Illinois
my passport in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
I go to the orientation, and I literally, like a mobster, put 10 grand out in front of me. I said, I want to go. And, Father Jim Aramon was the head of my high school. Sure, like the Jew knows him. Come on. Yeah, we hang. We go to the Cabana Club together.
Yeah, Jim.
So I literally put the money across, and I go, I want to go. And he goes, well, you're in. And he was the head of my high school, and now this was his first year as the head of the Rome Center. And it was the best time ever. And,
Must have been.
oh, God, it was so good. There were 3 girls for every 1 guy. We lived on our own little embassy in Cimo de Montemario, overlooking all of Rome. And on the flight there, I've sat next to a guy who had a guitar between his knees, which, therefore I didn't have half of my leg room. So I ended up going to the back of the plane and drinking with the stewardesses, and I ran into this guy, Dave Pasquesi, who's one of the best improvisers in the world. And at that time, I didn't know that, but I ended up chatting with this guy and sitting down in the seat next to him, next to the stewardesses. And they actually told us at one point, no, we don't have any more beer. You drank all the beer.
On the plane.
Well, on to cognac, I guess. And, so we drank the whole way to Italy and ended up being roommates. And he was fluent and
in Italian.
he used to dig pools with an all-Italian crew, and he actually learned how to speak Italian. So I was his Harpo Marx sidekick for a year. And,
Oh my God.
It was beyond belief. I went to 16 countries, but I think with the splitting up of Yugoslavia, it might be like 18 now.
Yeah, sure.
But it was beyond belief.
Anything get done academically?
I used to go to school on like Wednesday, because
For the week?
you'd leave for the weekend on Thursday because you wanted to get a train there, and then Monday you'd sleep, and Tuesday maybe you'd write that paper that was due Wednesday. But, no, I didn't do a lot of schoolwork, but what did you study in Italy? English, but I was on trains all the time, so I had plenty of time to read. So I read a lot of good books. You're traveling around Europe reading the Iliad and stuff like that. It was great, but beyond belief how much fun. And Billy shows up at my brokest. I have got no money, and back then it wasn't like, well, we'll put some money in your account here. You had to like send a check to the Federal Express, the American Express place by the Spanish Steps, and it was very hard to get money to anybody. There was no internet back then, can you imagine? Phones with jetonis, special tokens.
This was the late 70s, was it?
This was 82, 83.
All right.
But,
these two were just born.
Yeah. But it was so good. But Billy shows up in Rome the night before Easter in the Holy City.
Dressed as the bunny.
And he wants me to show that I can speak Italian. So we go out and we have a great night. And now it's like 2:30 in the morning in Rome, and he wants me to find places. And it's very difficult to find an Irish bar the night before Easter in Italy. But I think I know a place, and
Yeah.
But I passed the test.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. 9 kids?
I'm the youngest of 9.
Yeah, the baby of 9.
I don't know what my parents thought about. I mean, I've got 4.
Did you even ever meet your older brothers and sisters?
No, they raised me.
Right,
I didn't get to see the parents much.
Right.
My father died when I was 5, but I remember he used to come home from work and he'd have like 2 cigarettes and a scotch and read the newspaper in the living room, and nobody was even allowed to go in there.
Really?
And then, eventually, he would come to the dining room table, and my mom cooked for 11 every night. Can you imagine? They say that's where the funny came from in the family. And
what do you say to that?
Well, I've repeated this story a few times, but my dad was a very slow eater, and we would all eat in about 75 seconds, and then the rest of the meal was trying to get him to laugh with, milk or food in his mouth.
Right, but how do you even dine for 11? Because I've tried to get 11 friends together to dine.
Oh, we had a big table. We had and there were more leaves. I don't know where they got this table, but it was, up to 17 feet long kind of thing. And there were leaves in the closet, the one closet that was never clean, very crowded. But, you just, depending on how many people.
And by the time you're 3 or 4 and even starting to think about participating, your oldest brother or sister is how many years older?
18, so 22.
So you're 5, they're in their 20s, and they're swinging and out there, and they're living.
Our house was so crowded that, before my dad died, my brother Ed joined the Air Force at the height of Vietnam. My sister Nancy joined the convent and became a Dominican nun.
I'll say.
And Brian split for the West Coast and went out to St. Mary's in Moraga, and,
up near Berkeley.
Anything to get out of the house.
Yeah, right. So
seriously, send me to Nam. Yeah,
so maybe by the time you're 10, 11, half of them are they couldn't wait to get out, you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have my own room till I was 21, and then my brother Johnny moved back in. So, it was tight.
Yeah. I've always, because I only had one brother, if you can even fathom such a thing. But so I didn't have any knowledge until I got out into the world that there were
things like sharing. I had no idea about that.
No, I didn't understand. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
One big happy family. I thought that was just in the movies. But even still, 6 or 7 people around the table is a pretty good sized family. You mentioned you got 4 of your own.
Yeah.
But your mom cooking for 11, that just doesn't seem fair. And that's a couple of meals a day.
Yeah. I can't.
She ran a restaurant.
Having 4 kids, I can't imagine how do you find a place or time to conceive the other ones. You know, you got to have like a steel door or something. I don't know. Whatever. I don't even want to go there. But.
It's okay. So at what point are you? Because you mentioned it was not surprising to me that when I hear your dad's a slow eater, that everyone's taking turns trying to make him laugh when he's got food or milk to spew. At what point, at what age are you realizing, oh my God, it's not normal that you have incredibly funny siblings. In other words, you have to go out and I remember going to a friend's house and seeing how they live and thinking, oh, okay, so my situation is not the same as everyone else, right?
Yeah.
That the weird threshold where I had the opposite. I would go to my friends' houses and say, oh, people have fun at dinner.
Right.
This is cool. And so you're basically having a party at dinner in terms of
well, I remember
entertaining.
I mean, you kind of realize at a certain point that Brian and Bill are very funny people, and they had shtick that ended up on television and characters that the world knows now.
Right.
But there got to be a point where guys would come and pick them up early to go out. You know, I mean, guys that had like a '63 Wildcat convertible would pull up, and you know, we'd all look out the window. But next thing you know, they would come in and kind of pull up a chair on the side of the dining room, and we'd, you know, give them a coffee or something, or, you know, dessert, and they would come to actually watch the dinner.
Watch the Murrays.
No, that's all right, we'll wait. And, you know, that was always a good time for Mom to say, well, Bill's on dishes tonight, so it's going to be a little while.
It's going to be a while.
You know?
So Ed goes off to Vietnam, your sister goes off to the convent. You said Brian goes out to the West Coast. This is when you're preteen still?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still young.
And so what is the first sort of inclination that there may be a family business developing? Because you got the funny brothers and Bill and Brian, but maybe initially the thought is, a couple of my siblings are hilarious. Or were they all kind of?
I just thought that's how families were.
Right.
You know, in the same way you thought, you know, you only had one brother. But,
yeah.
I just thought that was home life, and that's how you know, work socially. But
so then it doesn't dawn on you that maybe this is going to be a family business.
well, nobody thought they could do that. Would be freed up in it.
Right.
But my father died very young. He died at 46, kidney failure. And today, you know, you'd have dialysis once a month. You'd be absolutely fine.
Right.
But 1967, you go in a couple days before Christmas and die. And Brian all of a sudden was kind of freed up to go hang out at the Second City and take some classes at the Second City. And with the death of Harold Ramis last year, Brian said, you know, I started doing improv classes with Harold 47 years ago. And so Brian got in and he worked his way up and was on the main stage all of a sudden with John Belushi and Joe Flaherty and, I mean, comic greats. And he couldn't have done that if my dad hadn't died. He would have, you know, we joke about, well, in Caddyshack, they joke about right in the lumberyard. You know, that was the fear in life, is that you were going to go work at the lumberyard with Dad. And
that was going to be the family business.
well, that might have been,
Yeah.
if you really didn't excel or do anything. So Brian got into it, and then Billy started hanging around, and the Second City used to, you know, siblings drank free. So
Oh boy.
Billy would hang around quite a bit, and there was a lot of pretty women and waitresses and whatnot. And eventually they said, well, you're pretty funny. Maybe you should get in this, you know, this class in this touring company. And they got in.
Yeah.
And I used to go watch Belushi and these people perform when I was like 11, 12 years old. And I'd sit with my mother, and somebody would swear, and what'd he say? He said, shit, Mom. Oh. I mean, what'd he say? He said, fuck, Mom. So I did theater when I was a kid. I did, you know, Wilmette Children's Theater. I was in Oliver. I did little plays.
Sure.
And then in high school, I remember I was trying out for the baseball team, and it was like a 2-day tryout, and I did well the first day, and the second day I went to an all-boys Catholic school. There's all these girls across the parking lot, and well, what are they up to? And like, well, they're trying out for the spring musical.
Why am I playing
see
baseball?
you assholes later. And I didn't go to the second day of the tryout, and I got a part in the play, and I kept doing that. But I was captain of the football team as well. I was a football player, and that was my thing. And there was a point where Brian had written Caddyshack and was casting and wanted to find somebody to play Spalding, and he kind of intimated that maybe you might want to, all the rich kids that we caddied for. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to be some jag-off actor like you guys. I'm going to play pro ball.
That's right.
I kind of wish I had that one back. But anyway, the football was fun.
Well, listen, what happened to the actor that played Spalding?
John Barnum?
Yeah. Let's get him on the phone. Somebody?
He's selling real estate in Massachusetts.
There you go.
Nice guy, and he'll sign a Baby Ruth bar for you.
And, we love that.
Yeah.
So the pro football thing, it comes to a crashing halt right before college, I'm guessing.
No,
You blew out a knee?
I started to blow out the knee, but I went out for the first day at Northern Illinois, the first day of summer workouts, and I went for one day, and I realized I was slower and wider than everybody else in the defensive backfield, and picked up a flyer, and I got a part in Bus Stop when I started Northern, and had some irate guys from the theater department. I don't know who you are. You're not even in the theater department, but my friend Dwayne was up for that role, and well, just damn you. And everybody had scarves back then, was so affected, and all of a sudden I'm in the theater department, and talk about shooting fish in a barrel.
Yes.
So you're straight. I respect that in a man. You literally, it was, pretty easy. Pretty easy.
Yeah, you're not taking any credit.
No.
For the ladies' interest in the theater department at the.
I had a really good Jimmy Connors haircut at the time.
Oh, did you?
It's pretty irresistible.
Yeah. Yeah. Went with the bangs, the bowl cut bangs. So, I have to ask what. We've had a few juniors on the show. We had Jake Kazan on recently and Jason Reitman talk about making a name for themselves when the last name, the family name, becomes annoyingly synonymous with comedy. And when you decide to get into, again, I'm going to just keep calling it the family business, some doors open. Oh yeah, well, the brothers are crazy funny. Sure, we'll take a look at the kid. And some doors close for similar reasons in terms of, who do you think you are? Don't you know who I think I am? So rather than even take a guess at what this journey initially was like, I have to ask if you could share a little bit of it in terms of getting to town, go west, young man, and then now what do you got?
Well, I was, after Loyola Rome, I went back to Loyola Chicago,
Right.
and I was finishing up my degree there, and I never quite finished it because of the year in Rome. The credits didn't quite work out. But I was working at a video rental place around the corner from Roger Ebert, which was interesting because he used to say on his show he didn't have a VCR, but somehow rented tapes all the time. And then around about a block and a half from the Second City, and one day about this time of year, a kid came over from the Second City and said, Joyce Sloan, who was the matriarch of the whole place, wants to invite you to the Christmas party tonight. So I went over to this Christmas party, and it was such a family environment, and you got to see her. They gave out presents depending on how long you had been there. If you were new, you got mittens. If you'd been there a long time, a big Santa Claus robe with white fur. Fred Kaz, the piano player or something, would get something extravagant every year.
Right.
And I hung out with Megan Fay and Isabella Hoffman, who were just gorgeous and fascinating. And I thought, oh my God, this is the world. And about the same time, a friend of mine that was my brother Johnny's roommate in New York, they used to bartender together, this guy Chris Barnes, showed up and invited me to go to classes with Del Close, who was the improv guru that taught all the SNL people. And I started taking classes, and I started taking classes at Second City, and I kind of this is good. This is kind of great.
So when you went to see your brother perform there, as you mentioned, explaining curse words to your mom, it hadn't really dawned on you that someday you might want to do that, or
Well, I
you were
was
just too young?
I was, at a point where I'd gone to college for 4 years and I lacked all direction, and I actually was training to drive a 303 cab up in Wilmette, and I thought about joining the Air Force. I just had no direction. And
Right.
people say, how'd you end up all being actors? Well, lack of direction, really. We just needed somebody to direct us, I guess. But
Yeah. Oh, well,
so I was kind of floundering. I didn't know what to do, and all of a sudden you find this world. And I came through at a phenomenal time where when I started Second City, my buddy Dave Pasquazi and I were improvising together, and Chris Barnes and all these guys. We had our own improv group, and then when I got to Second City, it was Mike Myers and Bonnie Hunt and Chris Farley and Timmy Meadows, and we just kind of came through at an amazing time. And
Right.
it was, it was really good. So I didn't move out to LA with the dream and $300 in my
You
pocket.
put in some work. Did you have, were there
I got-
expectations at Second City though? Another one of the Murray boys is here.
Yeah, but people used to always think I was an Aykroyd. I don't know. I used to talk very fast, and I would get stuck in a character, and I would be that guy. And, people used to think I was. Besides the fact it said Joel Murray on the picture on the wall, they would ask if I was Dan Aykroyd's brother.
Right.
And,
It gets into rhythms.
Yeah, but I've worked, and I got hired off the stage there to be on a show, Grand, out here, and I moved my wife and brand new baby out, and I didn't have to, take the leap of faith. I actually had a job when I came out here.
Best possible way to come to Los Angeles.
And I came out, and the only people I knew in town were a guy, Sean Masterson, whose parents started the People's Court, so he had some coin, and Bonnie Hunt, whose husband was a banker, and she had a series, and they lived in Brentwood, right at Montana and Barrington.
Sure.
So I thought, well, that's where our like-minded people go, must be near the studios, and if, very cost-effective, must be very, completely wrong.
Yeah.
As far away from everything as possible, but got my wife and I a little, it was a builder's house behind an apartment complex on Barrington. I was going to rent a crappy apartment across the street, and I couldn't find a place to park, which should have been a sign. But I was going to sign the lease, and I saw just down this long driveway, there was a little for rent sign all the way in the back, and I walked like 100 yards back there, and there was this little 3-bedroom house that it was like the Green Hornet's lair. You pull in the garage, and it didn't turn around while you waited, but that would have been nice.
Yeah.
But a little 3-bedroom place with a little yard, and was adjacent to the complex's pool. It was like the perfect place as compared to the crap apartment I was gonna sign a lease on when I was headed there. So that was nice. I had a series, and I thought, this is how life is. It's just, the first audition I ever went on after I was in the Second City in the Improv Olympic, I got the third lead on One Crazy Summer, and thank you. No, there's a lot of guys like 31 years old
that love that movie.
That's the best movie ever made.
Yeah.
Seriously, dude, you should get out of your parents' garage or a basement, wherever it is that you're still living. But
is that Bobcat and Demi?
Yeah.
Or 1 and 2 on the call sheet? Yeah.
No, John Cusack was one, I believe.
All right.
But that was the first audition I ever went on, and so I'm like, this is gravy.
First audition, you get the job.
And I had to audition against Jeremy Piven to play Cusack's best friend, and Piven was Cusack's best friend. So I'm on a plane flying to Hyannis for the final audition, and Piven had already been in like a couple of football movies and stuff like that. His chest was shaved because he was playing younger, kind of thing. I was like, wow, that's cool. He shaves his chest.
Not much has changed, really.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And back then he had T-shirts printed Cusack's pal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went out, and I'm on the plane with him, and I just kind of laughing by myself reading the paper, and he's like, well, what's that? I go, oh, it's my horoscope, and it just, everything's coming up roses, the world's your oyster. It's just funny, What are you? A Taurus, huh? Oh, prepare for setbacks. Sorry about it. And I'm just riffing off the thing. There's nothing. I'm not even looking at a horoscope.
Nope.
For that matter. And I've kind of tried to psych him out, but I got.
Sure enough.
I got to be Cusack's friend, and he got to be the bad guy's friend. But we were both in the movie, and we got to hang out for 2.5 months or something with Savage. Steve Holland was the director. He was like 25, and I was 22 or something when we were making the movie. It was so good.
Yeah.
So great. And it was one of those things where you're like, well, this is
the show business,
the family business. This
Yeah.
is what we do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to go on from this to the next film. And
One swing at the bat.
John or any of the Cusacks before, because they're also Chicago.
no, not at that point. Since then, I've
They were more straight theater jerks, the Cusacks.
they had, yeah, and they went to the Piven workshops where they had kind of more straight theater or,
Yeah.
you know, wilder kind of, what do you call that?
Experimental?
Commedia dell'arte kind of stuff
yeah.
they would do. But no, I didn't know them. But since then, I worked, Ann Cusack was my girlfriend on Love and War. I didn't have many girls on that one, but Joan Cusack, I played her husband on the first season of Shameless. John, I was there. Susie, I did some little short film where I abducted her and I had her in a hotel room for some reason. I don't remember that, but Billy Cusack was in the touring company with me at Second City Northwest. Joan Cusack, in Shameless, originally it was Allison Janney who
That's right.
we share a onstage wife, but in the pilot for Shameless it was supposed to be Allison, and then she had another gig she had to go do.
Yeah.
But she was a hoot. You must love working with her.
She is spectacular. Yeah. She sat here at the desk last month. Also one of those people who that took some doing, not comfortable at all. We were talking earlier about your brother Brian's lack of interest of talking about themselves. Some of us just don't mind it. But there are a few people out there, apparently, in the business they call show, who it's just not their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying earlier that Brian has yet to do...
Well, he doesn't do interviews per se. You know, there's a lot of things that I do in life, and there's a lot of things I don't remember. And, you know, things are pretty good right now. I don't need to be messing them up by doing some interview, and I don't need to do that. And he's classic. His wife, you know, went back to veterinarian school. She was an assistant director, and he learned the power of no by going to Kansas for like 4 years. But he's in Manhattan, Kansas, and you know, it's just great. And these people call up. They're obviously looking for me, you know, and these guys call up. All right, you found me. You know who I am. If I'm the guy you want, I do the one character. If that's the guy you want, then yeah, I'm available. But no, I don't want to come in and read for you and your 23-year-old producer friend. No, if I'm the guy you want, just give me the damn part and I'll fly in. And it just...
At some point, you just got to stop suffering fools.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly. And for Brian, it was probably age 27.
Well, Brian, he didn't sleep during the 80s, I don't think. He went from looking like Richard Burton to Fred Mertz in like a long weekend. I don't know what happened, but I'm kind of like, I need to do that. I need to. There's no work for guys my age right now.
You need to transition into an older.
I got to be an older guy, so I got to figure that one out. But,
from when Brian's wearing that awful folded up cowboy hat, spitting watermelon seeds into his hand, that young version to about 11 years later is a different human
all of a sudden,
being.
Boom.
Yeah.
But he's been working ever since.
Oh, yeah. All right, I'm going to need you to sit there uncomfortably for 67 seconds while I welcome another new sponsor to the show.
That Finn is in my neighborhood.
You like the Finn?
I like bar hopping in Culver City. It's really fun.
It's become a thing.
I wish I had bought some property when it was all boarded up car dealerships when I first moved out here.
Us too, damn it.
Yeah.
Here you go. Do you have someone on your gift list that is impossible to shop for? Isn't that everyone? Mm-hmm. Hasn't everyone become a little annoyingly difficult to shop for? Perhaps there's a fellow in your life who has everything. Me, I'm a bastard to shop for. In fact, friends are constantly bugging the crap out of poor Jamie here as to what the hell to get me. Not to mention, I myself, while shopping for my horrible friends and family, will walk around the mall for hours without a clue how to give a unique gift. Well, how about Harry's? Harry's razor. No, buying a damn fine razor is not your typical gift, but isn't that part of what makes this gift so special? Right now, Harry's is offering the Winter Winston set. Only $30 for a sleek chrome razor, 3 high-quality blades, their amazing foam shave gel or shaving cream. It's already wrapped and shipping is always free. I like those words, always free. They sent me one of these razors, and I think you know by now, if it was a piece of crap, I'd not be doing their ad. It's fantastic. The blades, you know, we're used to getting these disposable ones that you pay a fortune for, and you forget what it's like to have a specialty-made, top-of-the-line blade, quite frankly, that isn't mass-produced in the billions. I love this razor. And I'm glad that they're paying me to say it. That's just an instinct. But I'm thrilled to share this with you folks. And just in time for the holidays, Harry's is gifting all of our viewers and listeners of the show $5 off the first purchase with the promo code my name, just Kevin. $5 off your first purchase. For example, if you were to go with the basic kit and use our promo code, you'll get the razor, the 3 quality blades, the foaming shave gel, and shave cream for only $10.
What?
What the hell?
With free delivery?
With free delivery.
Impossible.
You're not wrong, Joel Murray. Not only is this half the price of the other big brand blades, you're getting super high-end made blades that are shipped straight to your front door. Front door, Sammy. Skip those store lines at the mall and use Harry's. Harry's is the gift that gives back. Harry supports the community by donating 1% of all sales and volunteering 1% of all employees' time with their community partner, City Year. Go to harrys.com now. Get $5 off your first purchase when you type in coupon code Kevin. Type in my name, Kevin. That's harrys.com and enter Kevin at checkout for $5 off and start shaving better today. I want to thank Harry's for being a part of this show. Folks, you ask, hey, how can I help support the show? I just told you. Go to harrys.com, you son of a bitch. Yeah, I think there is a time where you get work in showbiz and you think, well, this is just never going to stop. These jobs are a couple of them anyways are coming up pretty easy. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have a couple of more kids. Where's the harm here? Show business, I got this thing licked.
Right.
Is your wife working at the time when you're popping out these kids, or is that pretty much a full-timer with 4 of them?
My wife was an actress as well, and I kept messing up her career with the kids. And she actually, you know, back in the day, she got development deals and stuff like that. And Eliza Coyle is her name, beautiful gal from Wilmette, Illinois as well.
Did she come up through the serious theater program or the comedy?
She did both, but I happened to know her, and she got hired at the Second City coincidentally when I was on the main stage. She got in the touring company. Mm-hmm. But every time things would start going well for her, I would knock her up again. And she's hated me for 26 years now.
You gave her her own development deals also.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
But we had 2 right away, and then we had like a 7.5-year break, and then we had 2 more right away again.
Just when things were going well for her career again?
Well, yeah, every time I'd just mess it up.
Yeah.
So she's more into the interior decorating these days, but
right.
She's a wonderfully patient woman, beautiful gal.
She must be wonderfully patient, quite frankly. We talked about the 9 kids for your mom.
She's from 9 as well.
She is.
And her father is a lumber salesman as well. And my father and her father knew each other. They used to actually play bridge together, the 2 couples. And so we could have been the 6 boys, 3 girls for their 6 girls and 3 boys, but we only offered up 1 each.
And wow, and so, but did you meet his kids? No.
Never met until after college.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness, because then when you did meet, you could start right in with the sex play.
Yeah.
You were old enough.
Well, and if we'd met younger, we would have broken up, and
it would have been weird.
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah. Now, I promised 3.4 minutes of Chicago Cub talk between you and Sam Levine. Sam, of course, who I'll let him explain his connection to the Cubs, because technically he's from Jersey. Sammy?
Technically, I was raised in northern New Jersey. That's true, but I was born in Chicago in '82, and then my parents would take my brother and I back there over the summers when we were still young. And then my dad took me to Wrigley. I was like 8, and that was that. That's all I needed.
Yeah, it's a special spot.
Yeah.
Sam and I actually worked together on Still Standing back in the day.
That's right, we did.
He was younger, but the same height. Yeah.
And the same beard. And the same beard. Yeah.
Wrigley it's an amazing spot, and I'm a huge Cub fan. I mean, I was there when Bartman dropped the ball. I was there when the Cubs won 13-0 against the Padres, and we were yelling at, Garvey and all these guys, just screaming at them, how could we possibly lose, right? And Sutcliffe hits a home run. I've been there for all these great games, but I'm not adverse to tearing down Wrigley and building an exact replica in a different direction and scraping the cursed ground.
Yeah.
Because there's something wrong there. They've never won. I mean,
no,
1914, they've never won. There's something seriously wrong there.
Yeah.
But I'm actually, strangely, I'm friends with the Ricketts now.
Really?
Through this golf tournament I do. And they're super nice guys, Tom and Todd Ricketts. Todd Ricketts actually bought the Wilmette Sports Shop and kept it alive. They were going to close down, but it was, the place you went and got your skate sharpened and your bike fixed and, bought your team uniforms at. And they're just super nice guys, and they live in a regular house on a street corner in Wilmette. You can see them eating dinner through the window when you walk by, and they donate a lot of money at the little Muni course that we grew up playing. And hopefully it's going to happen.
They say within 2 years.
I'm very excited for this year, quite frankly.
Oh, you should be.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I think they're going to
I
get
think
the
they're saying
playoffs
within
this
2
year.
years because they want to give a little chance.
No, sure.
But the fact of the matter is, this could be the year.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
Because of the century plus now of
We've got none of that pressure of getting it within 100 years.
There is no
now
pressure.
we're freed up.
Yeah, there's no pressure. So it's one of those deals where the underperforming has been so overwhelming
Yes.
the last few years, because they had a great run 07, 08, back-to-back playoffs, but now it's like every year I've watched and I go, if we could just end over 500, I'd be so happy.
Yeah.
We don't need to win the division, they don't need to play in the postseason, just above 500 record.
We're only 14 games out at halfway through the season.
Yeah.
If we have the opposite in the second half of the season, we could be right there.
Right there.
Right? Yeah.
It'd be great. So my expectations are so low. See, unlike you, I don't start opening day expecting it to end with a World Series victory.
I would talk about my Giants, but then Sam will be quick to point out how few games I went to last year. But
How few meaning 0?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they talk about this new manager, and they talk about a couple of pitchers and a couple of players. So my question to you guys as fans is this: does it begin to annoy you that people are talking about it this way and trying to raise expectations?
I don't think the expectation is that they're going to win a World Series. I think the expectation is they won't be in the toilet.
Mm-hmm. As long as they don't put them on the cover of Sports Illustrated, we'll be good for a while, right?
Yeah.
No,
you don't need any jinxing at this point.
No, but I think they're immune to that. Whatever curse they've got, thank you. Whatever curse they've got is bigger than the average jinx.
Well, I will say this for folks watching and listening. You may not know this. The oldest rivalry in American sports is St. Louis Cardinals and the Chicago Cubs, of all American sports. Did you read the Buzz Bissinger, Tony La Russa book, 3 Nights in August?
No.
That speaks a great deal about this rivalry. The 3 Nights in August actually referring to a 3-game series between the Cubs and St. Louis every year that would matter most, which one of these teams was actually going to go on.
Sometimes not so much.
One could argue. But yeah, so do you think that history, the oldest rivalry in American sports, has something to do with the pride, or is it just still all sports are regional and wherever you grew up and you're from? I mean, there is a lore and a legend and a history, and Wrigley being a huge part of it. So I'm just curious, as a kid growing up, was it just
I hate nobody like the Cardinals.
It isn't possible, right?
I mean, that's the only time, like Budweiser guys, vendors at Wrigley, can walk around with just a whole tray of warm Budweisers, and nobody will buy it. They'll buy old style, and now the Goose Island or whatever.
Anything
but just no.
Yeah.
Sorry, thanks, but just 340-pound guys. No.
And that's all it's about.
Thank you. I'll wait.
That's all it's about, though, right?
No.
Because St. Louis pretty much has Budweiser and the Cardinals.
Yeah.
If you go to that park, which I've been, it's an ocean of red, they call it.
Yeah.
And these are the only two things they have.
Well, that, and they've got a 500-mile running start from the Rockies on the wind that eventually gets to Chicago with another 120 miles or whatever. But
right.
It's the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I hate St. Louis.
It's in your DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah. And was it a big thing around the house growing up around the table? And sports is, you played football, so.
You didn't acknowledge them. It was just, they were it was like the Cold War. You didn't want to think about the end of the world and nuclear bombs all the time. It's just, they're the Cardinals.
Yeah.
You just don't. Why speak of it? Then it only gives it life.
Right.
Were you at the first night game in '88?
I was there. Yeah. It was so funny because my mom and Joyce Sloan, who was the matriarch of the Second City, it started raining, and the raindrops with the new lights were this big. They were enormous. And it had been about 98 degrees with 90% humidity beforehand. And all of a sudden it just came down in a deluge. And we all ran up for shelter kind of thing. And all of a sudden I thought, well, somebody should help Mom up the stairs kind of thing. And I turn around and her and Joyce Sloan are sitting in this pouring rain, just talking like nothing was going on whatsoever. And Cheryl Sloan, Joyce's daughter, who was a producer at the Second City too, I said, didn't your mother ever tell you to come in from out of the rain? And she goes, no. Yours? No. Not once.
That's pretty great. Mm-hmm. This question in from the Twitterverse at Justin Doc D. Between you and your brothers, who is best from putting from the rough? Oh, who's best from putting from the rough? Jesus Christ, I'm all right.
Glasses.
Putting from the rough. Now, this is a golf term. Quite frankly, it's a little inside actually. Putting from the rough is well, you take it from here, Joe.
Well, putting from the fringe is one thing.
That's right.
Putting from the rough, you should probably be chipping. We're all relatively intelligent guys and have television, so we know you can hit a rescue club out of the light rough next to the green. But if you're in the rough, chip it.
Yeah.
Pretend you're a golfer, Justin.
Right, let me help.
Like Justin Leonard, some professional golfer.
Let me rephrase. Which one of you brothers is best from putting from the fringe?
That's why we play the games, Kevin.
Yeah.
We're kind of competitive.
Yeah.
Other people give handicaps and stuff like that when they play golf, so you can play evenly. Come on, we're all from the same gene pool. Why would I give you strokes?
Now that sounds like Brian.
Well, that was just a generic Chicago guy.
Oh, okay.
But my brother Johnny was kind of the worst golfer. We never gave him a stroke.
No,
you should lose. You should practice golf and get better.
And actually care.
Or just lose until then.
Yeah.
And, that's why we play. Billy's really good. He can hit a long ball. Brian's very straight.
Yeah.
And, very steady.
Sure.
Great chipper, great putter. Mm-hmm. I'm a pretty good golfer.
Yeah.
Andy's getting better because he lives down in Florida. My brother Ed was always the best golfer. He was
really?
The kid that won the caddy scholarship kind of thing. He actually was a Chick Evans caddy scholar, went to Northwestern on a caddy scholarship.
Holy crap.
Back in the day. So he thinks that Caddyshack was written about him, but nah.
Is Ed the brother that we were warned to keep Brian away from? In terms of talking politics?
Yeah.
No, Tina just told us to keep Ed away from Brian.
He's the one Republican in the family. He is.
Yeah, you got to have one.
Avid fan of
Out
Rush
of
Limbaugh
9?
and whatnot.
Oh boy,
yeah.
Sure.
Don't get Brian started with the two of them. It is humorous. It's just so good. But you want to just poke it.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Is there just some offhanded comment that Brian will just go to as a default in terms of being dismissive of Ed?
No, it's. it's not fact-based at all when they get together. It goes strictly,
Yeah, well, he's just a fucking asshole. He's a juvenile jagoff, is what he is, and that's your president. It goes straight there, and it's not.
No, there's no.
It's not about issues or anything like that.
No.
It just goes straight there.
That's right. Oh, well, that's the best kind of political debate, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
You're just a fucking asshole, and your guy's an idiot. Oh man, that's pretty great. All right, so you start to get. Is Dharma and Greg the first
Back to me again.
long run of a show? You mentioned the Grand thing, but Still
was on-
Standing, of course. But Dharma and Greg was the first.
Grand, and then I did Pacific Station was a short run, and then I did Love and War, which went for like 3 seasons, 2.5
Pretty
seasons.
good, yeah. Was that the Thomas?
Jay Thomas
Jay
and
Thomas.
Susan Day originally, and then was replaced by the wonderful Annie Potts.
Uh-huh.
And then it was Dharma, and I had tested 4 times. I went to network 4 times that pilot season, and for like 2 of them were guaranteed 13 on the air kind of thing. And I got the call in the car coming home, and 4th one, no, I didn't get that either, huh? All right. But there's this audition for a guest star on a pilot, and I was just like, oh, are you kidding me? But it's right by your house. It's right at Fox, and I had so much rejection that week, and so I went in and read for Chuck Lorre and Dottie Dartland, and I got the part in Dharma and Greg to play his buddy, because that's all I ever played was buddies, and it was 6 blocks from the house for 5 years. And, I sold a Durango that I had for like 4.5 years. It had 12,000 miles on it. But it literally was drop the kids off at school, go to the driving range, go to work, go back to the golf course, pick the kids up at school, and go home. And it was really good.
Yeah.
And we all knew that was really the gravy train with biscuit wheels. It was really easy, and
Yeah.
eventually it was a 4-day week, and
Yeah.
it was sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some more water, sir.
Well, I got some
Oh, you okay?
water.
Okay, yeah, we had Bobcat here, and the film you guys did together, it was just spectacular, quite
One
frankly.
Crazy Summer.
No. The one he directed you as, and you were #1 on the call sheet, sir.
Number 1 on the call sheet, and I changed in my own van.
That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for, because
Yeah.
when Bob was here, he did not mention the #1 on the call sheet was changing his clothes in his van.
Yeah.
But no, he did talk a
And
lot
sometimes giving up my van so the DP could take a nap. I brought the pop-up Volkswagen so I could, no, lay out. You're tall. Yeah.
Well, so what I love about the change in career plan for Goldthwait is I'm gonna write and direct, and I don't need to act in them.
Right.
I want to be a filmmaker. Everyone's gonna work for coffee and donuts, but we're gonna do exactly what we want to do. And I watched the film you guys did together, and first of all, I thought you probably had a gas doing it.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Truth of the matter.
Yeah.
Van naps aside. So any insights from the experience would be great.
Well, it was strange because I went and saw World's Greatest Dad that he did with Robin Williams, which I thought was so amazing.
Amazing.
I felt bad that I was not in the Mighty Bobcat Players because
Right.
I was in Shakes the Clown,
Right.
and he wanted me to be in Stay With Me, and my agent would never give me the script because a girl performs oral sex on a dog on page 1 of that script, and my agent was,
You're not doing
this.
this.
Could never possibly do anything for your career.
Right.
And so there's, the beginning of God Bless America is a little dark. There's a little fantasy.
It's a little
Right.
dark
End up
indeed.
with a little blood on my face. But I was so moved by World's Greatest Dad that I wanted to get back in with Bob, and he was having back surgery, and so I said, well, you haven't seen the Mad Men. you've got time to kill. And everybody I see that hasn't gotten into Mad Men, all of a sudden are like, yeah, but last year I had spinal meningitis. I was laid up for 2 weeks. I'm caught up to season 4, and
it's always spine related.
Yeah, it's usually something spine related. And so I brought them over the first few seasons that I had on DVD, and somewhere through season 2, his wife turned to him and said, Joel should play Frank in the movie. And Bob was like, God, that's so obvious. How did I not notice that? Well, I'm on medication. I don't usually do that, but so he sent me the script, and I didn't realize that he wanted me to play the lead. I thought maybe the guy in the office kind of thing, and no, you want me to be the guy.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't get that call much.
I usually say to filmmakers when the few times they've suggested I was number 1 on the call sheet, I literally said, and not being self-deprecating, so you want no one to see this. I mean, because there's a business part of this, and they say, no, I want to be able to make the film I want to make. I don't want everything to be cast contingent. It's a cast contingent business.
Right.
And someone in marketing is telling me who I can hire. And every now and then there's a filmmaker that says, I'm just going to hire the best actors I can get. Well, it just doesn't happen that often. Well,
and Bob gave me this shot, and the words are Bob. So when I first got it, I kind of thought, well, I'm supposed to be Bob-like. And Bob actually has said that he thought we were kind of doppelgangers, Bob and I. Like, Bob, I'm 6'1" and I've got a full head of hair. You're bald and
not so much,
maybe 5'5". So it was interesting to do, try to be Bob's voice and be yourself. Right. And a weird thing about that script was he wrote that as a Christmas gift to his wife, which says a little something about how weird their relationship is. Sure. And second, about how cheap Bob is. Mm-hmm. But he's said many times that my films make hundreds of dollars. Welcome. And it was so much fun to do, and to get to kill people for days on end. And I shot everybody left-handed in case there was any repercussions from killing the Westboro Baptist guys in the movie. So in case they came like, no, if I wanted to kill you, I would have killed my right hand.
If I really meant
the gun that I keep here.
Yeah.
But after killing people for days, you just, in traffic and stuff, you were like, oh, where the hell is my, you get cut off and you wanted to kill them. But
it is a strange thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's you're joking mostly, but being armed to that degree, there is a weird thing. I when I was in, this is, I guess, slightly related, but I was in Mexico on this movie, and day one, when I get picked up at the hotel to be driven to the studio, I noticed there's 2 other guys in the van with us, 2 good-size people of Mexico, men, and one of them seems to have a bulge on his right hip, and it's early. I'm not going to ask any questions.
Right.
Maybe they need a lift.
Spanish is a little weak in the morning.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Later in the evening, better.
I'm still not sure whether to say hola or buenos dias at that hour. So I noticed that they didn't follow me from my dressing room to the makeup. And then they stay with me from the makeup back to the dressing room. And then they're with me from the dressing room to the set, and I realized I've got security.
Oh, no, they're just big fans.
And they wouldn't talk to me, so I thought maybe they are big fans. And then they're with me the entire time. And initially, it's just embarrassing and it's just ridiculous. And you think, clearly you're worried about any American being kidnapped or something. This can't have anything to do with show business related. But after about 4 days of it, I noticed for the first time, I felt a little bit of a swagger in my gait.
Yeah.
When I got out of the van to get into the dressing room.
Bring it on, pal.
Muchacho's got a handgun, and he's on my flank at all times. But it was in the DNA, and I felt it happen. I went, okay, stop this. Don't be that asshole. But I was able to stop myself instantly, and yet I couldn't help but notice this weird, it's in our human nature somehow. When somebody's packing heat, and in this case it's you, you just act differently, right?
Well, it's not something I do every day, I'm not every day. I'm not a gun guy, no. But I can shoot well, but I just don't trust anybody I live with.
Do you know Joe Mantegna at all?
Yeah.
He's a Chicago cat, of course, and is a sharpshooter with a handgun.
Really?
Like a competition.
He directed me in Bleacher Bums back in Chicago, another Cub tie-in, 1989, which the Cubs had a very nice season with Mitch the Pitch Williams and
they did.
The Hawk and Grace and all. But what a riot. But Joe Mantegna directing you, and then we had Ron Dean and J.J. Johnstone, who was on all the Mammoth stuff, and Dennis Farina, and George Wendt came in at one point, and Jack Wallace used to hang out all the time. But it was like backstage with all these guys who were either ex-cops or ex-cons. One guy actually had killed a cop and gone to jail and now then became an actor. But the stories were backstage, were just priceless. Dennis Farina.
We couldn't be bigger Farina fans, so anything you could share.
But these stories would start out with Farina, you know. So I got my gun down this guy's throat, right? And he's still lying to me. He's still telling me there's nothing going on. The floor is bumpy. There's so many goddamn bodies under it, right? And so he's gargling my gun, right? And I finally take it out, and he has something to say, you know. But that's how stories would start.
Wow.
And then they would go somewhere from that. But he was so great, such a nice guy. And when I first moved to L.A., my friend Ed Blatchford, who was an actor back then, we used to go out and golf with Farina. And he was an okay golfer, a little better than me, worse than Ed, but he would purposely lose money to us because we were struggling actors. But at the end, what do you say, double or nothing on this? I'm like, all right, you know, and all of a sudden he'd end up giving you 40, 60 bucks at the end of the day.
Wow.
But just what a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Yeah, super nice guy.
True sweetheart. One of the all-time greats, right, Jamie?
Yeah. And Joey's such a sweet guy, too.
He was left out of the In Memoriam at the Oscars this year.
Was it a timing thing? Or he absolutely positively...
No,
he got left off. There was a lot of people very upset about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some straight up nonsense.
Somebody should die.
It wasn't a timing thing because it had happened like the fall the year prior.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, so it was not time.
Yeah, the Mammoth team.
J.J. Johnstone. What a character that guy is.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, I played Richie, kind of the idiot guy, and throw the ball back at the end. But he would berate me, J.J. Johnstone, and he had like these gnarled fingers, and he'd poke me in the chest all the way across. That probably sounded good, huh? He'd poke me in the chest all the way across the stage to the point where my heels were off the stage every single night. He knew exactly how far he could push me.
Holy shit!
And it really took you to a spot. You hated that guy at that moment.
Yeah, you did.
It was really good.
Well, listen, you brought up Mad Men. We couldn't be bigger fans here. We've had Hamm and Slattery and Robert Morse, Gladys and Rich Sommer.
I saw Rich last night.
Oh yeah, he was allowed at the Stone Street party.
I guess Stone Street is actually his landlord.
Well,
he rents Stone Street's old house before he got palatial.
That explains a few things.
Yeah.
So let's go there, if you would, please.
Take us there.
Yes, please.
1965.
How does the job begin for you?
Well, I mean, my wife and I had seen the first couple episodes. We had already enjoyed the show, and
you got in from the beginning as a viewer.
Yeah, as a viewer, and I also had an audition for the show that I had seen a couple of, and I had been writing this basketball movie with this friend of mine, who's like 6'5", not good friend, now a friend, but I've been writing this basketball movie with him, and he's a big, huge guy, and so I walk into the room, and I'm reading for a good 10, 12 people kind of sitting there, and all of a sudden I spot my buddy. And I'm like, all right, well, I got a chance on this thing. And so I read for Freddie Rumsen, and all of a sudden my friend stands up and goes, that was very good, that was very good. And he stands up and he's like, 4'12", he's maybe 5'2" or something like that. And it's Matt Weiner, it's not my friend. They look exactly alike, except my friend is,
a good
foot and a half taller than him. And so Matt is like, yeah, let's just do that again, because you've got this sadness about you, man, that is just perfect. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm pretty happy. Same wife, 20 years, great kids. But if you want sad, no, yeah, I got that sadness that you're talking about. Right.
You want the Black Irish.
I'm sad.
Yeah.
But I got the part, and the first scene I got to do was with Elizabeth Moss in this.
Was it a guest star thing initially, just an episode?
We never knew what the hell it was.
They didn't say.
Yeah.
They didn't specify.
Never.
And he was pretty tight-lipped about...
It was always week to week. I never was, a cast member. I was always in the dark.
And
Well, to the viewers and fans, you were absolutely a cast member, but I understand.
Well, that's the thing, because you hate when I point out, because your name does come up in the opening credits now. If you are on that episode, I'm like, ooh, Freddie Remsen's in this one. He's like, good pointing that out.
Yeah, they would spoil stuff.
yeah,
like that.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Not much. But
So week to week. So the first one you go in and
I go in, I'm doing a scene with Elizabeth Moss, and I've seen the show, and it was the basket of kisses scene where she comes up with a quip, and I actually end up maybe suggesting that she should be a copywriter and giving her her big break. But I'm doing a scene with Elizabeth Moss going, oh, she's really pretty in person. Oh, she's really good. Wow, boy, she can act. Oh, crap, I got a line coming up here. And I'm just transfixed on this girl, and I oh God, words are gonna have to come soon.
Yeah.
But I did it, and the words came out, and
Yeah.
it was fun. But that was such a great set, and the best parties ever. The Mad Men parties, there was nothing like it. Matt Weiner really knew how to throw a good party.
he understood.
Yeah.
We're not just creating an essence, we're going to live it.
And everybody really did smoke and drink on that show. And, from Hamm to January Jones, I mean, people were pretty hardcore. They could really go. And so, yeah, if you ever thought about bringing a car to a Mad Men party, you were just a moron. It was really, really great.
Jamie and I visited the set a couple of times, and I found out
They didn't let many people do that.
from the Shipka, Karen
Only really important Disney guests get to come to the set of Mad Men.
I'm trying to remember, was it
just
casually
ignored
from Jon Hamm being on the show or backstage at UCB, we're fans of the show, I'd love to come visit sometime. And he was so casual about, yeah, sure, no problem. Or maybe the first time around was Rich Sommer even. Someone, trying to remember how that happened. And then I was going to do this movie with Karen and Shipka,
Oh, yeah.
Sally Draper. And
She grew up in my neighborhood.
oh, really? The director said she's super excited about you coming to do this movie because you're one of the only actors she ever saw who was allowed to visit the set of Mad Men.
Yeah.
And we just had no reference point because to us, we would go to visit and you'd see some new set that was going to be in that upcoming season,
Right.
like the apartment where he was banging the teacher at one point. We said, I don't want to see a new set that I don't know what the storyline's going to be,
No, that was
Called it
rare.
the Love Nest.
The love nest, indeed.
Not to boast, but I also happened to be there with you.
Yes, indeed,
Yeah.
Sammy.
And here's what I remember.
Yeah,
was
please.
They were walking us around the office set,
You're right.
and they were changing the backdrop outside of Sterling's office. And it's a big, complicated process to change this backdrop. We said, oh, what's that going on? And then the production person goes, oh, well, this episode takes place in April of '66, so that's what you would have seen out of Madison Avenue.
It was, the research they did was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Like I made reference about an AA meeting in one episode, and I've met guys on the street where we're talking, and they're like, I used to go to the AA meeting at the basement of that Episcopal church on that street corner, and that's exactly where you said it was. And
Yeah.
but they did the research.
The attention to
on
detail
everything.
was
Beyond belief. And the stuff on the sets that you're just sitting around and, you talk about hot sets on some shows, like, oh, that's everything was authentic from the date.
That's
And,
a Pall Mall from 1968.
And stuff you didn't see, like in my office, I had a bar that was, I would pay $5,000 for this bar that was this little cabinet in my office, which we never saw, was beautiful and mirrored and crystal and all this stuff, but it was all hidden in this wood thing, and it folded out like 8 ways to Sunday.
In case they ever needed it.
In case,
They had to have it there.
So good.
You could feel, I'm guessing, as an actor, the rarefied air working on a show like that. I have to assume.
Hamm is amazing. He's got like a photographic memory, and you had to bring your A game words wise, because there was no ferumphing, because Weiner thought he was Shakespeare as well. I mean, it had to be word perfect down to the comma, and a colon was something different than a comma. I mean, it was unbelievable. But Hamm would look at it one time and he'd know all his lines, and you're like, wow, geez, why am I such a moron? And why aren't I snorting Adderall in my room? I should be. And
I remember one time where he was kind of at his lowest, drunky drunk kind of thing, and he was kind of being quiet by himself, sitting on a couch in the outer office outside the conference room. And I just kind of sat down next to him, and it was like 5 degrees colder next to him. I was like,
how did he do that?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to prepare over here. But he's just, and the coolest, nicest guy in the world. Slattery's the coolest guy.
Ridiculous.
Everybody there.
Surfer. Who knew Slattery was a surfer?
Who would have thought? And, everybody there was really fun. And did you hang out at the compound where they had
the trailers?
The huge deck outside the trailers?
Yeah.
Depending on what season you were there. But they would sit out there. If you come in to shoot at, say, noon, because it was always a rotating clock. You never knew what time you were going to come in. You could come in at 2 in the morning because they were always push and call around the clock. But say Slattery had a scene at 9 in the morning and he'd be finishing at noon when you're going in. You'd come out of your scene at 3 in the afternoon, and Slattery's sitting there playing board games, and then you hang around for a couple hours, and the other people that went in come out, and all of a sudden you're drinking wine, and it's 2 in the morning. And but those people never wanted to leave. They just loved being there because everybody was just that cool and that nice. And
yeah, we ended up having lunch one day. I think on the second visit. Or was you there the time with Jared Harris? Were you there? Was that time?
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
He's winning our football pool, and we have a Mad Men football fantasy league.
Oh no!
The Brits
You're
winning.
letting the Brit win?
I know, it's just sad.
Is he throwing a dart?
I don't.
Do you know who's who?
Well, he just had no, Bears that he rooted for. I know that's what did me.
You went with the heart instead of the brain.
Yeah.
A little bit.
How dare you?
Damn it.
Yeah.
But you were saying, Jared Wiggs, you were outside there? Did you see it?
Yeah, no, that was the what we did see, like the artificial turf, grassy knoll area by the trailers was one of the times we visited, but it was in the cafeteria where we found ourselves just having a meal across from Jared Harris, who also spoke of feeling like this is a sort of a once in a lifetime job in every capacity. Mm-hmm. The words are being written by a modern day Shakespeare, not just from ego, but actually a guy who gives a shit about the authenticity of every sentence, the structure, the phraseology. One of the things that takes me out of a period piece movie is when the vernacular is not correct. Mm-hmm. So I really care about that stuff. But as an actor, that can be kind of tough because you want to make the character your own. Whatever dark side you had to reach inside of you to make Freddie Rumsen piss himself, you still had to do that, even though they just brought you a wet pair of wardrobe.
There are actually tubes hooked up to me.
Were there?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was ready to pee on cue. I was full of water.
Water, was it?
That was very hip in Chicago in like the early 80s. I remember Jim True, who's a very good actor from Chicago, Steppenwolf and whatnot. But guys used to do like True West, where they'd pee in a bucket on the side in the middle of a scene. It was very hip to do that on stage for some reason.
To let people know you needed to urinate and it was going to happen off stage?
And
in the wings?
It was going to be live, and you were going to have an eye view of it right coming at you, kind of thing.
That is True West.
Yeah, that was True West. But so I thought perhaps I was going to have to pee on cue, but no, there was actually tubes in the pants and whatnot, and technicians.
Right. Yeah. And so once
union guys, union P guys.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah. And you don't want to mess with a union guy who's going to turn a valve.
Yeah.
When the episodes are coming more and more for Freddie Rumsen, and whether they're only putting a pin in you for next week. Oh boy, I got to love that phrase on the Mom Show. They want to put a pin in you for the episode 211. Do they? That's good. But when you become more and more a part of the family of characters after a few seasons, I don't know about spoiler alerts if people are all caught up or not, but this...
Wait, my family's not caught up.
Okay.
So
on a lot of levels.
Levine's, stop listening, watching.
Yeah.
Now.
Well,
all right, everyone else.
Not about the last episodes coming, but the ones that we just saw, the first half of the last season, as it's called. I correct me if I'm remembering incorrectly, which is oft my want. The first episode opens up with you staring down the barrel of the camera with a monologue.
Accutron watches. that was it was freaky to all of a sudden have Matt Weiner hand you a 2.5-page monologue basically to start the season off with.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been around in a while.
That's
to
one of
all
the
of a
things.
sudden have the kickoff for the season.
We'd like you to come back to the show.
Yeah.
It's been a couple of seasons, Joel.
Not a couple, but I mean, I had
No,
like one episode.
I
the
meant
year
a couple of
before.
episodes,
Right.
not a couple seasons. But here's 3 pages of words we'd like to start the season with. You're
Yeah.
okay with that? I really want folks to understand the daunting nature of that, because I remember talking to your brother Brian shortly thereafter, just trying to find any sort of insight into, that's daunting as hell, no?
Yeah.
No matter how comfortable you are with the character and how excited you are to be back and to be a part of kicking off the final season, whether it's the first half or not, holy crap.
And you're kind of channeling Jon Hamm. You're supposed to be saying Draper's words.
Right.
Yeah. So it was a weird.
And down the barrel,
Kinda layered
which for
thing.
any actor, whatever
Straight
you
in-
do, don't look at the camera.
Yeah. So this is straight in the camera the whole time, and it was originally it seemed like it was going to be one long pull-out shot where the camera started here, and that was when I first saw it. I had to watch it a few times before I could bear it, but it was just my big fat face, in the frame, and it got bigger and bigger. But the first take I did, the camera's here, and they just dolly out further and further away from me, and I got through it. I knew all the words. I did it, and 'cause meanwhile, you got Hamm, who would have memorized that in 40 seconds.
Right.
I had spent a good part of a day on it, and the camera operator comes over. It was really cool. Everybody I work with speaks like they're from Chicago for some reason, but he goes, "That was really cool. You didn't blink. That's just weird." And he walks away. I'm like, "Well, that's a weird thing to say to an actor right now."
Yeah.
So.
You feel pressure now to not blink in the next take?
But for some reason, the whole thing, I did not close my eyes once, and so the next take was probably
Yeah, Blinky McGee.
Did it a couple more times maybe, and done. And,
Holy shit.
I thought that was going to take forever. I
Yeah.
thought that was going to take a long time, but it was good. And then I had a nice scene later where I told Don to do the work, Don.
Yeah.
And people stopped me a lot, and I had the line that I said, you never have to have another drink again in your life. And a lot of AA people will come up to me and say, it's great to finally see somebody actually say that on television. That was great stuff. And I'm usually like holding a drink in my hand at the time. I was playing a character. I wasn't. But thank you. Yeah.
I'm glad I could speak for
yeah,
you
I'm glad I could speak for all of us.
as a made-up person.
Yeah, but it was such a good run, and to be kind of part of a television history. I actually got the Mad Men calendar, which is always important. This artist called Dinah Moe. I don't know if she's one of the illustrators. But
Jamie's very
Actually, my laptop background is
Dynamo?
Yeah, it is.
Dynamite.
No, it's Pete Campbell's from their apartment. Pete and
Oh
Drew's
yeah,
apartment.
The giraffes.
yeah.
That's Dynamo.
Yep.
Well, so Matt sent out a 2015 calendar, and I got it yesterday. I opened up this morning, and you look through, and you're like, "Am I going to be in it?" And it was from the whole show. So there was stuff, from Hamm in front of the hotel in the second season, and there was recent stuff and older stuff.
You mean for each month, the photo
Each
of above
month
the...
it was another Dynamo painting,
Wow.
and I kind of like got to December and like, because I'd been in it before.
Sure,
And,
sure.
Me peeing my pants was 1 month. I believe my birthday month, but then I kind of turned it over and put the calendar down, and there I was on the back of the calendar, and I'm like, a word from Accutron. Oh, so good. But
There's still love in the air.
I was there's love in the air that Matt was even sending me a calendar.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly and truly, that's what I meant about being a part of a family. Whether they're putting a pin in you and giving away in the opening credits that you're in that week's episode from week to week, the audience not knowing. But there's a sense as an actor feeling a part of something. And that's something you, quite frankly, I would think would celebrate for the rest of your days. This was television history, and as it's coming into its end, last 7 episodes begin in April?
April?
They haven't.
We're assuming April.
We don't have a
haven't
definite date.
announced it
I think
yet.
it's around April, yeah.
Yeah.
They used to put a pin in me, and like my blimp is here.
I don't know if we made that clear at the top of the show, but Joel arrived in a dirigible.
Yeah, that's the way to travel. It's smooth.
Yeah.
But they used
The
to.
ladder's a bitch.
They used to put a pin in me, and like the fourth season, I came back with a Ponds account, and Hamm was his drunkenness, and I'm back and I'm sober. I'm like, this is so great. I'm the parallel, the opposite, whatever contrast. And I thought, I'm back, and then they had a pin in me for a couple weeks ahead, and they were going to move that pin again, and they were going to move that pin again. And meanwhile, we could have gone on vacation this summer, but instead the pin is still, now the pin is over here, and you never knew what was going on while you were gone because everything was so secretive. And you finally come back and you're like, I get to read it.
Yeah.
You used to have to go read the script before the table read. You had to go sign out a script, sit over there, read it, and
At
then
the offices?
hand it back. Yeah.
At
you
the
couldn't
LA
take it home.
Center, the studio.
Yeah, it was very secretive. And Matt would give a speech before every table read about,
Oh yeah, tell us.
Well, just it's that way with everything. Boy, you're not allowed to tell anything, and they've got your name watermarked on the scripts in case it got into enemy hands.
Right.
It's like your football playbook.
If we find a script from the Chinese internet,
right,
Joel, with your watermarked name across the front of it,
you will be fired
and arrested.
Man.
Yeah. God. All right. So tell me about your long-standing love of improv here in town, here in LA. We mentioned before going on the air about iOS. And you've been to this Westside Comedy Theater your own damn self. Oh, they were trying to get you. You actually did show up?
I came one time to see somebody. I don't remember exactly who.
Right.
But they do in our ASCAT Armando kind of thing, what they call
Pretty Pony.
Pretty Pony. Ask for it by name.
Sure.
But I've done for a couple of years the Joel Murray and Friends. I do a show where I bring in people, and sometimes people that, like, I had Rich Sommer one night, who's not an improviser, and we bring him on and like, we'll make you good. We have Bobcat, who's not technically an improviser, but we'll bring people up and let them play.
Or me.
Or you want to play sometime?
Sure.
That'd be great.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're going to bring up people who aren't great at it.
Right, you would be the guy.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm all of a sudden, strangely enough, actually making money improvising for the first time in my life. I do a show with Ryan Stiles and Greg Proops and Jeff Davis and Bob Durkesh on the piano. But we travel around doing a live Whose Line Is It Anyway show, which is kind of the opposite of where I came from improvisationally with Del Close and slow comedy and,
Yeah, this is short form, right?
This is really quick in games and stuff and really smart guys. Proops is a genius and a giant fan.
Proops we've had here. We love
Twice.
the Proops twice. He's one of the, I think, only one of two people who have made a double appearance.
So sharp.
Crazy fast mind. And that's got to be a great joy to do when you're used to long form, to do the shorter form and the games, just in terms of a workout.
Yeah, it's a different muscle, that's for sure. And it was a little frightening at first, but I'm getting the hang of it. And they like me because I haven't been doing it with them for 15 years, so I come up with new stuff.
Fresh blood.
Come from a different direction. And
what towns have you done with that, or countries for that matter? Because I know they travel the world.
It's mostly Canada and the States.
Uh-huh.
It's mostly places within a 3-hour flight from Ryan.
Is that how it works?
But we've been from Moose Jaw to Medicine Hat to Calgary.
Monkey's Paw.
Monkey's Paw. But we just were like in Cupertino and San Francisco and Santa Rosa and Marin and
the North California swing.
We've done the Humboldt show where they literally throw buds at you as appreciation.
Right.
Sometimes a standing ovation is nice. Big sticky buds of weed are nice as well. It's a nice way to say, hey, way to go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Thumbs up. 2 buds up.
A couple people scampering on the floor, a couple people bowing. I'm not going to give away which is which. But, yeah. But yeah, I like the improv.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And so your show is at iOS is monthly or?
It was monthly. It was the second Thursday every month. Now it's sporadic.
Based on your own time.
Yeah, I've been
and laziness?
No.
Work.
There's like improv groups that bring big houses that are kind of guaranteed, and the old guys don't necessarily call anybody to come see them improvise. It's more of our bowling night. So we don't necessarily pack the house. When we had it steady every second Thursday, we got following, and all of a sudden we had a good sized house.
Right.
But if you don't have it regular, it's hard to build a house and have people show up.
Is Sammy the new mentality? You got to bring your own crowd, or you got to, as the artist, you got to hustle a lot more to bring?
There's certainly much more pressure to tweet about it, put it on social media, tell everyone, ask for retweets, because word of mouth just isn't what it used to be.
Yeah.
Nobody calls their friend to go, hey, I saw this great show last week, and I don't know who's going to be on this week, but we got to go. That's not as common as it used to be.
Right. I mean, it started, I think, in the 90s with alternative stand-up comedy shows, where a big part of it was to have a night at one of the venues, and it was kind of on the performer to solicit an audience, and that wave seems to have continued for sure. This theater does extremely well on most shows, but there's some shows where they're still just trying to find an audience and let people know how great these performers are that aren't household names necessarily. That's a big part of it. But the thriving scene of improv in Los Angeles,
it's utterly amazing.
It's spectacular. There's a second, they just opened another UCB, which apparently is 3 different stages. And I
went to the grand opening thing the other night, and just insane how many classrooms they have. And I went back for the opening of the new IO theater in Chicago. 3 big, huge stages. My buddy Dave Pasquesi, who I'll keep mentioning.
Sure, why not?
He has the Mission Theater, which is one of the 3 theaters. But huge classrooms. It has a full-on kitchen restaurant going on there. I mean,
and how different was it when you were taking a class there?
We were upstairs at Cross Currents, and Del Close smoked in a little tiny room, and then the stage literally had a pole like here. It was the horribly
fireman's pole.
You used it, but it was a horrible. A third of the audience was obstructed view.
I see.
Why would you put a pole there? We haven't figured out a way to bypass it with a beam or anything like that. No, but we would have improv with 3 heralds, 3 long forms in a row, where Sharna Halpern used to come out with a chalkboard and actually judge you on a scale of 1 to 5 in 4 different categories, and there was a winner every night, and we were the Barons Barracudas. We were kind of the house group. We thought we were the shit, and we were.
Well, with a name like the Barons Barracudas.
Well, that was Del Close's animated character, Baron Barracuda, on Diver Dan, a weird series that was part man in a metal diving bell hat and animated fish or puppet fish.
I don't know why you felt the need to explain to us what the show was.
Everybody knows Diver Dan, that was on the Ray Rayner show in the mornings in Chicago.
Come on.
Yeah, all right.
Everybody knows Pasquesi, by the way, who watches Veep.
Oh yeah,
he's the ex-husband.
He was the ex-husband on Veep.
Drives his ex-husband on Veep.
Yeah.
And he was also the clinical psychologist in Groundhog Day.
Right.
That he first goes to see.
Now Jamie knows who you're talking about.
Yeah, the one. Well, no, because it's the one, because Ramus
After
says,
Ramus,
yes,
you
he
should
goes to
see.
Ramus
You know what I think you need? A biopsy.
Yeah.
A psychologist.
And you never say, what's his name? The actor. Can we cut out this part? Joel having the complete brain breath. Adrian Brody. You never say Adrian Brody around Dave Pasquesi.
Yes.
Yeah, because they kind of look alike.
Oh, he doesn't want to hear the
They
Adrian.
do very similar resemblance, I suppose.
But he was also in the Dan Brown movie Angels and Demons. He was one of the investigators, and he was in Woody Allen's Italian movie that was not good. Didn't like it. Anyway.
Listen, we'll have him as a guest on the show. I don't know why you're pushing so hard.
He's the voiceover king. He lives in Chicago. He never wants to move out here. But for like 15 years, he was for limited time only. in every McDonald's ad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Pretty sweet gig if you can get it.
yeah. Do you do voiceover work?
You would think.
You would think. Well, with the voices and all.
I find it to be taxing and annoying and underpaid.
The auditioning.
Only because I haven't got one of the big national campaigns.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll feel differently. A question has come in, it appears, for Sam.
What?
From the interwebs.
I am wildly popular.
Did Sam ever get some from Linda Cardellini?
Why would you?
Why would?
Okay. Why would?
First of
A,
all,
why would somebody ask that? B, why would you read it?
because I wanted Sam to be able to comment how obnoxious these people are.
I'm going to answer that question quickly and honestly. Real life, no. Fictionally, no.
Yeah, it really is annoying.
Yeah.
Actually, I asked it as a way to segue into working with the Mark Addy on the Standing Still. Still standing, I'm all right. And we talked a little bit beforehand about him coming off the wildly popular motion picture.
The full Monty.
As it turns out, the Monty was completely full.
Full.
And what that experience was like, because, you know, there was a time, and maybe it still is, where it was, this is the guy, somebody build a show around him quick.
It used to be stand-ups for a while there, but why not take a likable guy from a movie?
Yeah.
Build a career around him. Right?
Yeah.
I got on that part way in. I wasn't in the original cast. I was the second buddy. Dave Koechner was actually his first buddy. And then I want to say Todd Stashwick, another improviser, was a buddy of his too. But
Turns out he just can't keep a friend.
I came along, yeah, his friends moved away a couple times there. But what a wonderful guy, and he's from Wales. And I used to feel sorry for him because his wife and kids are in Wales, and here he is all by himself living in Santa Monica. And you'd see him Monday, he's like, I was going to invite you to a barbecue, but you know, I should have called. I was out with Dave Grohl till 4 in the morning. But he talks about all the clubs he was at and stuff like that. Yeah, you were probably all right. You wouldn't have liked all the kids in my pool anyway. But
Yeah.
super nice guy. But the funny thing about that show, working on it, it was set in Chicago. There was a Rastafarian guy from Jamaica that used to teach him how to speak Chicago, which just blew me away. I mean, I couldn't get an audition for the show when it first started to play Jamie Gertz's husband, because I've always had a crush on her. She's a sweetheart. And so here you got a Jamaican guy.
Teaching the Wales guy.
Yeah, how to speak Chicagoese. And is that right, Matt? Is that right? Right. It's really more 2, 3 guys in a garage. The garage is monosyllabic. Oh, okay. But
Yeah.
just kind of that thing. But super fun, that show. That was really nice. When that show was funny, it was really funny. There was episodes of that were really good. And that was Joey Gutierrez. Do you ever remember him from stand-up days?
I think so, yeah.
He used to do a crossing guard bit that just for some reason killed me. But he was very good.
Don't call me, what's the Albert Brooks crossing guard? Don't call me
Retardo.
Don't call me retardo. Lost in America. That's
Yeah.
the first thing I think of for the rest of my life when anyone says crossing guard.
Yeah, but that was a fun gig. I remember back in the day when we were studying with Del Close at the Improv Olympic in Chicago. My brother Billy and Brian and like Bud Cort and Olin Ray and Jamie Gertz and C. Thomas Howell, and there were more people, all got together, and Del Close did this workshop for Sidney Pollack was going to do a movie. They were going to improvise a movie, and they worked out and improvised for a week. And we were the house team, so we were actually showing them how to do different things a little bit. And I remember getting to do a scene with Jamie Gertz and C. Thomas Howell, and he turned me into a chicken.
Sure.
And I couldn't deny it. And I was a chicken, and all I could do was peck at his leg over and over again as hard as I could. I was like, finally, my chance with Jamie Gertz, and he turned me into a chicken.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, listen, I waited as long as I could. We've got Jamie in the other room. Can someone tell Ms. Gertz? No, she left? That's weird.
I gave her a crazy gift, and I shouldn't have done it. But back in the day, we were out one night, and we were with Gilda Radner and my mother. And, well, my brother Brian and Bill, and I want to say this is the same night we actually went and saw Robin Williams at the Copacabana earlier in the evening with Lucy Arnaz, which is an interesting combo.
Sure.
Young Lucy, the daughter, and saw Robin do a show, blew us away, and this is like 1978, 79 or something like that. I laughed my ass off, and I sat next to this strange guy that did not laugh once, white-haired fella, and afterwards I'm like, who the heck, who's the dead wood at the end? Well, that's Andy Warhol. Oh, right, yeah, that's who that is. Oh, wow. Well, I didn't find the show funny. But anyway, that night, Gilda said, you look cold, Mrs. Murray. Let me go get a coat. And she lived like across the street, so she went and got one of the original red satin Saturday Night Live jackets with the pin striping on it and the original logo, you remember from the first pictures kind of thing. And Mom had that jacket in her closet for 25 years. And Jamie played Gilda in a TV movie, and I gave her the jacket because it wasn't going to fit me.
No.
But I thought, she moves in some higher circles, maybe somebody will get a lot of big charity money from it someday.
Right.
So I gave her Gilda's original Saturday Night Live jacket. So,
wow. Holy.
yeah.
That's pretty spectacular. It seems like you might have an in now with Jamie Gertz.
I'm still, in her mind, I'm still a chicken.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're both married.
But still standing.
Yeah.
So how did that?
It was my secret subtext all the time, was that, I was going to get there, or that I had, one or the other. But no, she was wonderful. Just good stuff.
Yeah. Her father had the Chicago Improv for a while. The great Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said I performed at the grand opening before we were both in makeup earlier, and you said you were there.
I was there
that night.
That was the year when all of a sudden, I lived next door to Zany's. You know where Zany's was? I lived above the Mexican restaurant.
The little one downtown?
Farley and I lived above it on Wells Street there. He had the front apartment, I had the back. And that year, like 4 more stand-up clubs opened on Wells, on the same street.
Yeah, there was a bit of a boom.
Yeah, it was like putting a McDonald's next to a Burger King.
4 minutes left in the show, and I just now find out in the exhaustive research that you were roommates with Chris Farley. What?
Oh yeah, and I think Joyce Sloan, the matriarch, got him that apartment on purpose in front. I had the big swinging apartment in the back, and he had this little hovel in the front. And we'd get done with the show, and we'd close the 2 o'clock bar, close the 4 o'clock bar, go to Stevie Bashakis' place, the old blues bar, Belushi's friend, go there for a while, go to my apartment. I'd kick people out of my house at like 5:30, and then they'd go to Farley's place. I'd wake up for breakfast at the burger place across the street, and I'd kick the guys out of Farley's place at that time, like at noon. But it was hysterical. It was like having a huge, yellow lab next door that would come in. And I literally used to make him sit in the same chair like a dog. Every time he would come in, Chris, your chair. And it was a wicker chair that you couldn't stain, but there was a visible circle on the carpet beneath it. But he was amazing. It was the cutest, sweetest man, and you would see him. His mother used to send him wrapped laundry in a green paper. I can picture it, but like white Brooks Brothers shirt, khaki pants, and he always had the same kind of army boots on all the time, a white T-shirt. And by the end of the night, the shirt the ripped sleeves, holes in the pants, big visible Scotch stain on the T-shirt, and I don't know, Joel. Sometimes I just I was bad, wasn't I? Yeah, Chris, but just a million stories. 4.5 minutes won't do it on Farley. He was
all heart, that kid.
He was. Yeah, he was all heart.
And there's some performers like him, quite rare, that. They can have edge while performing, and then there's just sweetness off stage.
The first time we ever improvised, when we put him up in the improv set on the main stage at Second City, we got the suggestion of a drunk tank. Uh-oh. And I said, I'm your dad, I'm picking you up at the drunk tank. He goes, oh, perfect, yeah, all right. And we improvised this scene, and it turns out in the scene, we didn't have anything other than that. The father's just as much of a drunk as the son. He's lost his wife because of his drinking, and somehow he got this kid because he was a loser, and the wife's got the other kids. But I know we're Irish, we have to drink, but you got to know when to say when or no even. But I mean, just all these drinking things, and we improvised the scene, and Del Close came backstage afterwards and said, well, boys, get the videotape of that and script it. It's done. But it was the first time I ever improvised with the guy.
Wow. And I can't imagine Close was handing out compliments like that often.
Not at that point of putting up that show.
The last thing we're going to ask of you, sir, thank you so much for spending damn near 2 hours with us. I can't believe it either. It's called the Larry King Game. You heard me threaten you earlier. It's something our head writer, Jamie Foxx here, created. The thing we loved about Larry was when he would go to the phones to talk to people, and he would call out the name of the city and then go to the phones. But sometimes before going to the phone, he would stare down the barrel of the camera, in this case, your camera, and he would look at the folks at home and share something about himself that no one cared about. Absolute meaningless Larry King-ism. So you will be Larry King in the game. Here's good news. I want a bad Larry King impression. I don't want a good one. So don't even feel any pressure to try and do a good one.
Oh, good.
I want you to do a bad Larry King impression. That's what makes me laugh. And we've had everything from a falsetto to, it should sound nothing like Larry, just have fun with it. But you are Larry King when you look into the camera and share something about yourself. I don't want a little tidbit from Joel Murray's life. I need you to make up one about Larry King as Larry King, a memory, some sort of past thing, or an opinion. Oreo cookies are the best. Any sort of worthless information that Larry would share, then he would go to the phone, right?
Uh-huh.
And the name of the city, if it's funny sounding, Sheboygan comes to mind.
I was thinking Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
I'm
That
sorry.
is really freaking weird.
I'm sorry. It's one of my favorite from your neck, slightly off to the left.
Waukegan.
There you go. There's your camera. When you're ready.
It's got a K in it. I'm having a cramp.
Enjoy the cramp. Give us a bad Larry King impression, something about Larry, anything at all. Just make sure it's something none of us wanted to know, and then go to the phones. That's the Larry King Game. When you're ready, sir, there's your camera.
There's a lot of things in this life that come upon you by surprise. Family, old friends. But one thing that's never a surprise is your own health. It's something you should keep track of. I have many friends that are dead. Most of my friends are dead. And your friends will die as well. And much of this is due to lack of maintenance. You've got to take care of your body. It's the only body you have. Kankakee, you're on the line.
That, my friends, is how you play the Larry King Game.
Yeah?
That's fucking beautiful.
I blanked in the middle of there.
Oh, no.
I don't know how long that pause was, but it was like, is it time to cut?
No, you went to the Bahamas for a second,
yeah.
but by the way, that's a perfect Larry King. He, too, has a little moment in the middle of every thought. You actually nailed it more than you know. Can't thank you enough, honestly, for spending your Sunday afternoon with us. There were 73 other things you'd rather been doing. We appreciate you coming by. Honestly and truly, thanks. It means a lot. I need you to sit there uncomfortably while I wrap things up for the folks at home and around the globe. Thanks to Mr. Joel Murray, truly a great talent who was kind enough to stop by here at the Westside Comedy Theater. I want to thank those folks again for allowing us into their homes. Sammy, thanks as always. We're going to be back here next Sunday. Never mind who the guest is going to be. We'll let you know on the Twitter. Jamie?
If you're in the Los Angeles area.
You've got a show coming up.
Next Sunday night, the 14th, right here at the Westside Comedy Theater at 7 p.m. called Geeking Out.
Geeking Out.
Yep.
Watch for that here at the Westside Comedy Theater. Doing that once a month?
We do the second Sunday of every month.
Second Sunday of every month.
Come on down.
All right. That's
put that right there.
That's one cue. Josh and Jason up in the crow's nest. Thank you both, McIntyre and the Negrin. Evil Dr. Chen.
Why is he evil?
Look at him. Sonia Cabrera hanging in for the makeup earlier tonight. making everybody look a tad better. I believe that does it for this particular show, number 223.
Yes.
Let's call it. Why not?
I can't wait till we get to 227.
With that, when you bring out the Jack A impression?
Damn right.
Oh, baby. Something to look forward to. Only one show possibly left in this calendar year. Follow us on the Twitter. Let's see, it's at Sam Levine. I never keep track after the fact.
It's all right.
At Jamie_Fox. At Kenneth Chen.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't care about the Twitter.
Joel Murray, 9 at 9, 9 of 9.
Thank you.
Yeah.
At Joel Murray, 9 of 9. That's the number 9, the letters O of, good. And the number 9, 9 O of 9.
I think you age like 10 years. Every
During
minute.
each show?
Every minute.
You try to talk for 2 hours and see what happens when there's cameras and lights on you. You guys want to yell out your Twitter handles? Why not? At Josh Negrin. Jason_McIntyre. At Jason_McIntyre. All right, thanks very much, everybody. And until next time, and as always, get out of my face.